Hello everybody, this is Patrick at Damore Golf Instruction. Today I'm going to analyze the swing of Tiger Woods. Now he is a topic of a lot of discussion. Why would someone want to change their golf swing after the 2000-2001 seasons with this kind of success that he had is always a topic of debate. And quite frankly, he is, I think he's a perfectionist, long story short. He went through a couple different swing changes. The last one was Sean Foley. And Tiger's big thing with him is he's trying to become a better driver of the golf ball and a better iron player. His iron play the last year or so has been very good. If you look at his stats from the 2012 season, and he was one of the better ball strikers out there, although his success in his terms wasn't as good as he thought. He was still one of the better ball strikers out there. But there's one thing that still plagues him. Whether it was the Hank Haney golf swing that he had, or even the Sean Foley swing, is his driving ability with the driver off the tee still plagues him. He is very erratic with that, even today. I mean, he's already got 3 wins before the Masters, and it's something he fights. And I personally think that's one reason why he kind of changes instructors every 3 or 4 or 5 years, because he's trying to become a better driver of the golf ball with the driver. And I haven't seen that yet with the Foley system. I do know he's swinging a little bit better with his Foley system, primarily because he's trying to achieve an impact position that is more consistent. And what I mean by that is more repetitive. With the irons, Foley likes to get Tiger very level at impact. Obviously, he'd like to be there with the driver, but he's still not there quite yet. And what I'm going to show you today with Tiger is why he's an erratic driver of the ball with the driver compared to some of the other tour pros out there. Now, you can't take anything away from Tiger. He obviously is the best golfer out there and might go down one day as the best ever. But his inability to drive the ball off the tee is, I think, holding him back a bit. And again, I promote and preach the on-plane swing, arcs, shoulders, and shift. And I'm going to put up my diagram here. This is kind of the image I like to use, and it's all over my website and my YouTube channel. And again, folks, don't get caught up in the exact line location and body positions. I put these images up there for a general reference and a very visual idea what we try to look for. Now, as you can watch Tiger on the backswing, he does have a wide arc. There's no doubt about that. He's a very long hitter. He's about 6 foot, 6'1", and hits it a mile. He's got a lot of arc on the backswing and a lot of lag on the downswing or forward swing up to impact. And as you're going to watch here, he gets, again, very narrow on that forward swing, as you can see here. He's very narrow. I mean, that's a 63-degree angle there with the handset. If I take him back to the top, he's at about 70 degrees. So his handset has increased a touch from the top of the swing into his shift to the forward foot. And that usually tells me right away that he's getting a little bit narrow on the forward swing arc up to impact. And that's been kind of his story his whole career. It's why he, in my opinion, is an erratic driver of the golf ball, that big stick, the driver. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things good with this. He hits the ball long ways. But anytime you have a narrow forward swing arc, folks, on that forward swing up to impact, you're going to have trouble with a two-way miss. And Tiger's a poster boy for that. The push right with a fade or the sharp compensating pull hook. And with the on-plane swing, arcs, shoulders, and shift, if we could get him swinging wider on the forward swing up to impact, you would see a more consistent ball flight and a more positive result, in my opinion. Now, what I mean by that is this. Let's get him to the top of the swing, folks. I'm going to put a little stroke around his hands. I do this with all my face-on views with my tour pros that I kind of analyze. And what I'm looking for is this. On that forward swing, if we can keep these hands out away from the body for as long as possible, and I'm not talking about casting and releasing the hands at the top. I'm just letting these hands come out wider to impact instead of taking that shortcut this way, which Tiger does do. He takes a shortcut. Now again, these lines are up there for just obvious illustrations, folks. Don't get caught up in the fact that he's not quite on this line and he's not quite on that line. What happens when he starts his forward swing, folks, as usual, he swings from the ground up. This left hip wants to go this way, and when that left hip goes that way, these hands take a shortcut to the golf ball. Instead of traveling that wide route that I like to see on the forward swing, that wide route will create a better impact position, number one. Number two, it's going to create a more consistent impact position. Number three, the wider that forward swing arc is on the forward swing, the more time your club head has to the golf ball. And when you have more time into impact, you don't have to make last second unnecessary adjustments. The landing area on the forward swing into impact is wider. When you come in narrow, your landing area is shorter, greater margin for error. When you come in wider, the landing area or impact area is increased, so you have greater margin for success. And that's kind of what Tiger does in a nutshell. He gets very narrow on that forward swing, and that's why he's been an inconsistent driver of the ball for quite some time. Now Foley has him trying to work through this, and I think you might see him work through this another year or so. With the irons, he's really good. He's very level. Now what I mean by level is this. Let's take a look at his shoulder position at address. This is my end-all, no argument sign of narrow and wide and what's going on with Tiger and a lot of other pros for that matter. Let's look at his shoulder position. He's at about that's about typical, 13, 14, 12 degrees, depending on how accurate you are with that line. Now let's look at his shoulders at impact, folks. As you can see, there's a lot more tilt, about 30 degrees versus 13. I mean, that's 20 degrees of tilt. When you see this at an impact position, I immediately know for a fact that he's coming in a little bit narrow instead of wide. And again, that breeds very inconsistent. That breeds using the hands and forearms to manipulate the club face up to impact for last second adjustments, and that's basically what he does. Now let's put another picture here of another golfer, and I'm going to show you the difference in what I'm seeing. Now this guy on the right's had a very good year too, folks. Brant Snedeker. Let's look at him at impact. Now I'm just talking shoulder position. Again, he's again very similar to Tiger, 13, 14, 12 degrees. Let's look at him at impact. Alright, now let me get the impact position here. Oh, hold on a second, folks. Use a different color line here. Alright, now he's, I don't know, what's that, 15 degrees roughly? Depending on how accurate you are. Let's get him at impact. Let me use a red line, folks. As you can see, Brant Snedeker's shoulders are a lot less different than Tiger's at impact with a driver swing. That tells me Brant is a lot more level, if you will, at impact instead of up in the air at impact. When you are more level at impact, like Brant's showing me here, your downswing or forward swing arc is a lot wider. Again, that's what I preach, folks. Wide backswing arc, wide forward swing arc. And I'm not talking about casting. I'm just talking about having these hands at the top of the swing. Let me put a circle around them again, folks. Having these hands travel a wider arc into the golf ball instead of narrow. I'm exaggerating this, folks, just to kind of show you what I'm talking about. If they travel that narrow arc, which Tiger's does, you come into the ball a little on the steep angle. Steep instead of shallow. When you come into the ball steeply, you need to have last millisecond hand-eye coordination manipulations to hit golf ball straight, and it's almost impossible to time that. But in any event, Brant a lot more level at impact than Tiger Woods, and obviously Brant's a straighter driver of the golf ball. It doesn't hit as far as Tiger. There are some trade-offs with consistency, folks. Let's get Brant back up here at impact again. Much more level at impact, as you can see. Difference between Tiger's shoulder position and Brant's at impact is very noticeable. Alright, now let's get Brant over here to the forward of the swing here, folks. You can see here's another case in point I'm going to show you. Very level. Level impact position creates and breeds a level follow-through position. Brant is very level here. When I see these kind of positions from a golfer like Brant Snedeker, I'm going to show you someone who hits the ball pretty consistently off the tee and pretty consistently into the green. And that's basically a poster boy for Brant. He does do that. Now let's get over here to the left and look at Tiger's position at follow-through. Again, he's up in the air, high right shoulder. That tells me he's gone into the golf ball at impact a little narrow. Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He's a lot narrow in the forward swing, folks. Too narrow instead of shallow. And when you do that again, folks, you have to use the hands and forearms to manipulate the club face to hit straight shots. Now, that being said, Tiger Woods will probably go down in history as the greatest hand-eye coordination golfer of all time. His hand-eye coordination is off the charts, folks. When I watch a golf swing like Tiger's with this driver swing, there is, take him to the top first, there is a lot of manipulation on that forward swing. He gets very narrow and has to use his hands and arms and forearms to square up the club face, and he does do it, folks. I mean, he's pretty good at it. Although he's not one of the straightest hitters in the world, he is pretty good at it. I will tell you this, if you look at the numbers back in 2000, at the end of the 2000 season, Tiger Woods was third in driving distance. I mean, he was long, and he was 65th in fairways hit. He was in the top 30% in driving accuracy. That's a pretty good golf swing in 2000, or in 1999. I'm sorry. In 2000, he was second in distance and 54th in accuracy off the tee, which means he was in the top 25% straightest hitters on tour. And it's tough to argue with facts like that. Just a great ball striker in 2000. Now, we're in luck because I'm going to bring up a 2000 Tiger Woods golf swing here. Let's see, I found it the other day. Let me see if I can find it again. Son of a gun. Let me poop the guy that got this thing. Alright, bear with me, y'all. Now, we're gonna watch this again. In fact, we're gonna get rid of the one on the right. So let's go to the one on the left. Son of a gun. Bear with me. Tiger Woods in 2000. Okay, let's get him to the top. You can see he's got some shift. He looks like he's using a 5-iron here. Let's get him back at impact, or set up. I'm sorry. That's about his center of gravity. Let's get him to the top. He's moved off the ball ever so slightly to the right. He shifted his weight. Get him back to impact. Now look at this position right here, folks. I want to show you something. Look how level those shoulders are right there. See if I can get him at impact. Clear these lines out. Tough to see where that right shoulder of his is with the dark shirt, but I'm going to guesstimate it somewhere in here, maybe. Tough to tell. In any event, very level. Now I want you to watch something here. Here's what I'm talking about. Back in 2000, when he was with Butch Harmon, Butch, haven't studied a lot on him, but I'm familiar with his brother. Butch likes to preach arc and shift, kind of like I do. And we're going to take Tiger all the way to the finish here. Let's slow this thing down a bit. Back. You can see the lateral move to the ball. Look how much through the shot he is right here, folks. Let's go back up one there. Very level shoulders here, folks. Very level here. Okay. What you're seeing here in 2000 is he has a lateral move this way through the ball, through impact with his upper body. Okay. Let's get him over again here. Now I want to show you something. Look where his upper body is in relation to the golf ball at address. Okay, let's get him to the top. Ever so slightly off the ball, and that's typical with an iron. It's not like he's got a driver in his hands. He looks like he's hitting about a 6 or 7 iron, so there's still a weight shift, folks. Let's get him back to impact. As you can see, his upper body has already transferred and made the move to the target. Very much on top of the golf ball. His upper body is very much on top of the golf ball here. That's what we call covering the golf ball in layman's terms. And let's get him to the finish. Again, look where his upper body is. Very much lateral move through the ball. Okay, better ball striker back then, folks. You can't argue that. Now, I mean, I'll argue that with anybody. Not that I want to beat Sean Foley down or Hank Haney. Numbers don't lie. That's what I've learned in math class over the years. Let's get Tagger at the top. Now, Sean Foley likes to preach almost a reverse weight shift. And what you're seeing here is anything but that, which I like to see. I like to see this move off the ball. If his center of gravity is somewhere about here, his center of gravity is about 5 inches behind the golf ball. That's a weight shift, folks. I don't care how you paint it. That's a weight shift. Now, unfortunately, if I was teaching Tagger, I'd have him get on top of this golf ball a little bit more than what he's doing. Let's take him back to the setup position. Okay, let's get him to the top, down to impact. Now, let's get him post-impact here and finish. Again, he's swinging underneath, and you can tell that by his shoulder position at finishes, pointing up in the air. Long story short, Tagger's going to continue to have trouble with the drivers, and he's not going to be inconsistent as he likes until he fixes this forward swing. The forward swing is still very narrow. Now, if I'm an instructor teaching Tagger Woods, I'm going to have him set these hands earlier in the back swing. I like to see these hands set in about that position there, and when his left arm is parallel to the ground, I like to see that wrist set almost completed. Now, if you get a complete wrist set before you get to the top of the swing, there's no reason to increase that wrist set as you start down, which Tagger does, and that gets him narrow. If we can set those hands before we get to the top, then you have a much, much easier time, and I mean much easier time, having these hands attack the ball in a wider fashion. Okay, if we can come in wide again, folks, we're going to have a much easier time hitting good golf shots. I promise you will. Now let's forward them here a bit. I wish I had a couple iron swings of Tagger Woods with Foley, because he is in a much better impact position with the irons than he is with the driver, obviously. I'm seeing that right shoulder tilt. That's just huge, huge underneath move. Right shoulder's down here, left shoulder's up there, and basically you're using the arms and forearms and hands to flip the club face at impact to hit straight shots. Not easy to do that. Now, with the on-plane swing, I like to see a wide back swing, which Tagger has, and a wide forward swing, at least up in impact, which Tagger does not quite do with that driver. Shift. On the backswing, we shift the weight off the ball, which Tagger does do, even though Foley doesn't promote that. Tagger sits up behind the golf ball to begin with. Okay, I'm going to put down an axis right here on him, and we're going to get that center of gravity is about, I don't know, it's about a couple inches behind the ball. Let's get him to the top now. I still think his center of gravity has moved off the ball even more. That's a weight shift. That's good. I like to see that. I believe Foley doesn't preach that, but it is happening in his swing. So on the backswing, he's got a center of gravity is moving away from the golf ball. Whether you start it from the static position to address that way, or move off the ball to the top of the swing, it's going to happen, folks. Now, what Tagger doesn't do is this upper body ultimately needs to move this way during the forward swing. if he would do that and come in much more level with a much wider arc up in impact, you're going to see a much consistent ball striker. Now let me pick up another person here. There's I have in my catalog here someone who's very, very level at impact. Just bear with me, folks. Where's my models at? Here we go. Alright, where's Mr. Nick Watney here? Son of a gun. Bear with me, we're getting there. There he is. Here's Nick Watney on the right, another good ball striker. I think he's got fundamentally one of the better swings on tour. How come he's not as successful as Tiger? Well, obviously there's a lot more to success in pretty golf swings. But let's look at him at address. Let's look at him at impact. I'm not even going to move the angle of that red line, folks. I mean, he is really level at impact. His shoulder inclination at address and his shoulder inclination at impact is very, very, very similar, if not the same. Tiger, on the other hand, he struggles with that. And to my opinion, with that driver especially, way too much underneath with that right shoulder, way too much angle at impact with the shoulders, and that creates a very narrow downswing arc. Now let's go back over here to Nick Watney on the right, folks. I want to show you something with his swing. Here's Nick at address. We're going to kind of put a circle around his torso. We'll get him to the top of the swing. As you can see, he's moved off the ball ever so slightly. And that's with a short iron, folks, probably 7-8 iron. Let's get him back in impact. He's moved on top of the golf ball at impact with the upper body. Let's get him to finish. That's a weight shift, folks. On the backswing, his weight transfers this way. Now, I'm not talking a lot. I'm just talking enough to shift his weight. And on the forward swing, weight comes back this way. That creates a wide, shallow forward swing arc instead of a very narrow V-shaped arc. More consistent golf shots, folks, with a wide, shallow angle of attack. And I think Tiger is going to struggle continuously until he fixes that. And I know he's been trying and trying and trying, and I think he might get it. Hopefully another year with that driver swing. The irons, again, he's pretty level with the irons. I've seen his slow-mos with his irons and at impact. His shoulder position and his arc width is pretty level and pretty wide. But the driver swing, boy, he just gets into bad positions. And one thing he does that I think would help alleviate that is if he could set those hands earlier in that backswing. Instead, he sets the hands later in the backswing. He starts the hand set about here and increases it up to the top of the swing, and even increases it more to start that forward swing. And that just breeds narrow forward swing arc. That breeds and encourages steep instead of shallow. And of course, when all that happens, your left hip is wanting to go this way, which that's Tiger's natural move. He likes to plant that left side and fire the hip, and then unfortunately the hands take a detour to the golf ball. And by the time he gets it to the golf ball, it's all hand-eye coordination. Now, that's pretty critical of a guy that's going to probably go down as the greatest player in golf. But he does have some flaws with his driver swing, and these are the flaws he has. I did not see that with his 2000 swing, nor did the numbers. The numbers don't lie, folks. I mean, in 2000, he was a god-awful great ball striker. I mean, when you're second in distance and 54th in accuracy out of, 200 weekly tour pros, you're one of the top 25% straightest hitters on tour, plus he was the longest hitter out there. And you put a good short game in there, which he has. I mean, no wonder why he wins everything. But he struggled since then. And what I'm seeing is, I'm seeing him have it half fixed. The irons are much more level at impact. The driver swing, not so much. But I think, and here's my prediction, you're going to see him win a lot this year. I'm still going to say he's going to struggle too much for him with the driver. And that's no knock against Sean Foley. but it's very tough to time the club face angle at impact with a narrow forward swing arc. Folks, I'm Patrick Damore. If you have any questions, email me. If you'd like to get your swing on the operating table here like I'm doing with Mr. Tiger Woods, I do offer online video work. Contact me via email or visit my website, patrickdamorgolf.com. Thank you. Have a great day.